Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking something absolutely wild. We're digging into a highly secretive, totally invisible global ecosystem. Thanks to millions of leaked government and intelligence documents, we finally have a clear picture of exactly how the ultra-rich, I'm talking billionaires, world leaders, massive multinational corporations, how they manage to legally hide their wealth. We're going to map out exactly how this hidden world operates, step by step. And honestly, the sheer scale of this shadow economy is going to completely blow your mind. Okay, let's dive right into this with a perfect example. Look at the Cayman Islands. The numbers here are just, well, they're completely baffling. The entire population of this tiny island is roughly 70,000 people, yet there is one single building there that serves as the official registered government address for over 18,000 massive foreign companies. 18,000! This isn't just some weird trivia fact. It really highlights the absolute absurdity of a system where a piece of paper with an address is somehow far more important than where a company actually does its work. So I want you to put on your detective hats for a second. Think about this central mystery. How exactly does a fake, paper-only company, combined with some obscure country's flag and a tiny legal loophole, manage to outsmart the most powerful legal and tax systems on the planet? Because, spoiler alert, the absolute craziest part of this entire investigation is that the vast majority of this massive wealth hiding game, it is perfectly legal on paper. So understand how they pull it off, we have to look at the ultimate building block of this whole hidden economy, the shell company. Let's break down how these things are engineered to completely bypass bank suspicions. Step 1, you don't start a brand new company, because that attracts government scrutiny. Instead, you buy a shelf corporation. Basically, a company created years ago and kept alive just on paper, so it looks super established. Step 2, you hire a nominee director. This is literally just someone paid to put their name on the public documents. Now, step 3 is where the real magic happens. That nominee director immediately signs an undated resignation letter, meaning step 4, the true owner holds all the actual power, totally hidden behind the curtain, ready to date and fire that director whenever they want. And get this, the scale of this is mind-numbing. 28. According to reports, just 28 of these so-called nominee directors are currently running over 21,000 shell companies globally. Just think about that for a second. It's a massive coordinated illusion. Whenever tax investigators try to find a true owner, they just slam into a brick wall of the exact same 28 names, making the real billionaires practically invisible.
So once that money is successfully hidden in a shell company, what do they actually do with it? Well, a lot of them buy super yachts. But here's the trick. They don't register them in their home countries. They use flag states like Malta or the Marshall Islands. Why? Because of a brilliant, totally legal loophole called the tonnage tax. Instead of paying a standard 20 to 30% tax on the yacht's actual market value, which could be hundreds of millions of dollars, they're taxed based purely on the physical weight of the ship. Because of this, a billionaire might pay just $12,000 a year in taxes to own a literal floating palace.
Let's switch gears to the art world, because the strategy here is even more extreme. Enter the freeport. These are incredibly high-security, weatherproof, fireproof warehouses, typically tucked away in places like Geneva. Now, because goods stored in a freeport haven't technically crossed a country's official border, absolutely zero import taxes apply. The Geneva freeport alone holds over 1.2 million artworks, including priceless Picassos. It's essentially a permanent, tax-free limbo for immense wealth. But here's the kicker, they aren't just storing this art to preserve it, they're using it as a massive tax-free ATM. Imagine a billionaire buys an $800 million painting through their shell company. They stick it in a freeport where it literally never moves an inch. Now, if they need cash, they don't sell the painting. Selling triggers taxes. Instead, they pledge that masterpiece to a bank as collateral. The bank then hands them a massive 100% tax-free cash loan. The painting stays locked up in the dark, the owner gets a mountain of spending cash, and the tax bill is literally zero. Okay, but what happens when things go wrong? Say there's a nasty divorce, a huge bankruptcy, or a massive government fine. This is where the ultimate legal shield comes into play. Offshore asset protection trusts in places like the Cook Islands. The secret weapon here is the duress clause. It's an incredible game of cat and mouse. If an American judge orders a billionaire to bring their money back to the US, the billionaire says, "Sure thing, Your Honor," and sends a letter to their trust manager in the Cook Islands asking for the funds. But, thanks to the duress clause, the foreign manager sees the letter was forced by a court and legally refuses to send the money. The billionaire just shrugs their shoulders to the judge, and the money stays perfectly safe. Now, obviously, global governments weren't just going to sit back and watch this happen forever. Around 2017, they launched a huge counterattack. Over 100 countries got together and implemented the Common Reporting Standard, or CRS. The concept was simple but super powerful. If a citizen from one country opens a bank account in a tax haven, like Switzerland or the Caymans, that bank automatically shares the account data right back to the citizen's home government. At the time, it was hailed as a massive, game-changing victory. So, did the billionaires suddenly start paying their fair share? Nope, not even close. They just pivoted. See, the CRS tracked bank accounts and shares, but it totally ignored real estate. Look at this wild data from a European investigation into Dubai real estate. Researchers found 371 Norwegian citizens owned ultra-luxury properties in Dubai. But guess how many actually declared it to their government? Exactly 66. By simply shifting their hidden millions out of trackable bank accounts and into totally untrackable luxury villas, they effortlessly sidestepped the new rules. This endless cycle of hiding and seeking finally hit a boiling point in October 2021 with one of the biggest data leaks in human history, the Pandora Papers. The International Consortium of Investigative Journalists dropped 12 million hidden documents exposing the secret offshore accounts of politicians from 35 different countries, plus over 100 billionaires. But the Pandora Papers didn't just name names. It completely flipped everything we thought we knew about where the world's hidden money actually live. Because the biggest shock in those documents wasn't Panama. It wasn't the Cayman Islands. The absolute jaw-dropping reality is that a massive chunk of global hidden wealth is actually sitting right in the middle of the United States, specifically in South Dakota. Yeah, you heard that right. Hundreds of billions of dollars are hidden in trusts in South Dakota, a sum that completely dwarfs the entire state's actual economic output. So why on earth is South Dakota the world's new premier tax haven? Basically, two main reasons. First, starting back in the 1980s, the state changed its laws to allow something called the Dynasty Trust. These trusts can basically last forever, shielding wealth from a state and income taxes generation after generation. Second, and this is the real kicker, while the U.S. aggressively forces other countries to share data on American citizens, the United States famously refused to sign the CRS data sharing agreement. So a foreign billionaire can park their wealth in South Dakota, and the U.S. government is under absolutely no obligation to tell that billionaire's home country about it? All right, let's shift gears for a minute from personal wealth to corporate wealth, because the scale here is just staggering. $1 trillion. According to the International Tax Observatory, multinational companies shift roughly $1 trillion, which is about 35% of all their foreign profits, to tax havens every single year. You've got tech and pharma giants shifting their incredibly valuable patents and royalties to places like Ireland, which boasts a super low corporate tax rate of just 12.5%. This legally drains vast resources from governments all over the world. To stop this trillion-dollar bleed, 140 countries finally united in 2021 to strike a historic agreement, the 15% global minimum tax. The whole point was to guarantee that no matter where a massive corporation set up its headquarters or registered its patents, it would have to pay a hard minimum of 15% tax on its profits. It sounded like the ultimate silver bullet to fix the system. But as always, the corporations fought back. They managed to get a brilliant little loophole inserted directly into the new law, affectionately known as the substance carve-out. This rule essentially says, hey, if a company actually builds physical factories and hires real local employees in that low-tax country, a huge chunk of their profits are totally exempt from the new 15% rule. The result? Companies just started building more physical offices in tax havens to exploit the carve-out, totally bypassing the spirit of that historic agreement. Let's bring this all home and look at what this actually means for everyday people. Think about a standard salaried middle-class worker. You're probably paying anywhere from 20 to 40% in taxes, and it's pulled straight from your paycheck before it even hits your bank account. Your taxes build the roads, they fund the schools. Now contrast that with billionaires. According to government records, they often pay an effective tax rate of between 0 and 0.5% relative to their true wealth. They aren't breaking the law, they are literally just playing a completely different game. The absolutely crucial thing to understand here is that billionaires technically don't earn an income the way that you or I do. They funnel all their wealth into a holding company. So when their big business makes a massive profit, the money doesn't go into their personal checking account. It goes straight into the holding company, which simply sits there owning assets and shares. Because the billionaire isn't taking a direct paycheck, their personal income, and therefore their personal income tax, remains legally, perfectly at 0.
And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate paradox of the ultra-rich. How do you live a billionaire lifestyle with zero income? Well, it relies on the strategy commonly known as buy, borrow, die. First, you take no salary. Second, you keep all your wealth locked up in holding company shares. Third, you never ever sell those shares, because selling triggers a capital gains tax. Fourth, when you need cash for, say, a new private jet or just daily luxury expenses, you pledge those shares to a bank as collateral. And finally, you take out a massive loan, because remember, under the tax code, bank loans are not considered taxable income. Their wealth just keeps growing infinitely in the stock market while they live entirely off of tax-free debt. So, where exactly does this leave us? Right now, many economic experts are proposing a pretty radical overhaul, a 2% global wealth tax. This would tax total net worth rather than just income. But the big question really remains, can a new tax actually fix a system this deeply broken? Or will the money, using all the loopholes, the shell companies, and the trusts we've outlined today, simply pack up and run to a new island or a new state? I really want to know what you think about this. Is true financial transparency actually possible in our modern world? Or is the game just rigged forever? Let's discuss it. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you next time as we break down another fascinating topic.